Hello and welcome to How to Level Up Fast. It's going to be a more general overview of some of the decks that I've been playing with. We're going to go for a couple of aggro decks, Warrior and Warlock, and then also a control deck, the Priest. So let's start, like I say, let's tell me what I said in there. And we'll start with Warrior. So Warrior, not really known for being an aggro deck, but I think one of the interesting things now is that of course, in the past, aggro decks would have been dominated by Hunter. It's not really the way at all anymore. The best Hunter decks are now mid-range Hunter decks. Aggro Hunter is pretty average, to be honest. It's really not the go-to anymore for aggro. I would say that both Warrior and Warlock are really the Hunter decks now. We know the aggro decks, I suppose, is a good way to put it. So let's start with this Warrior deck. So you can see we've got some fairly new cards. I can't remember exactly when they came. Fierce Monkey's pretty new. Alexstrasza's Champion's pretty new. And let's start with that. I mean, Alexstrasza's Champion is great because obviously you've got Fairy Dragon. Can't be Wrath. Can't be targeted. Can't be Frostbolted. Can't be Dark Bombed. Can't be anything really. So yeah, if you get I tend to like starting if I either get either the dragon or of course the other dragon, which is Drake. Something I do like to see if I can get the Alexstrasza's Champion. This is a deck where you can really just absolutely smash your opponent from quite far back. It's not that easy to think about these new aggro decks. Is there's certainly a new they're deeper aggro decks than with the Hunter aggro decks. I wouldn't say they've been easy, but they've been easier than this. These aggro decks are actually more difficult, I would say, to play because they're slightly more complex decks, which is a good thing because it means that the skill level is increasing. So yeah, so Alexstrasza's Champion. Obviously, if you can get a coin and then a 3/3 charge early on, that's pretty good going. Especially if your opponent is not playing class, which is going to have an easy rebuttal. I mean, most of them, of course, do, but your Priest might not have Shadow of Pain, Mage might not have Frostbolt, etc. So that's pretty good. And yeah, sometimes you need to really think about. If you've got the coin, what you're going to do with turn one. The thing is, going straight into the Safini, you may want to go aggro, but also with this deck, not necessarily a bad idea to go Shaman, to go Totems as well, because you may want to have a few more minions up there. Heroic Strikes is a really good way to finish. It can also get rid of 3-4 minions. That would be the ideal use. You do need the monkey to protect your minions because honestly it's quite difficult, especially realize that there is no board clear, there's no brawl, there's no whirlwind, no revenge either, so there's no area of effect in this at all. So you have to be pretty careful with how you do it. The upgrade can also be very, very useful. Get rid of 4 for the but yeah, there will be a point where you're going to take a lot of damage probably, so you want to try to maximise the use of the Mortal Strike. Obviously, you can get buffed from the Drake as well. Berserker is always useful to put a couple of your early minions, so your Leper Gnomes, maybe the end of Alexstrasza's Champion. You need to really get good value out of these minions, because you haven't got many minions. But yeah, later on, if you do obviously Steady Shot or it depends. I mean, it depends how the game's going, really. Generally, with aggro, of course, you would say choose Steady Shot or even Mage Ping, but I can't even remember the name of the Mage. I really should remember that. But yeah, it's really like this sort of deck has been around in the Warrior kind of fold for a while. It's just like a power warrior with the power of the Quilcron, the Arcanite Reaper, 6/3 Reaper and stuff like that. I've even seen various ones with Gorehound, stuff like that. But you can never underestimate the deckhand either. That can get you the final damage, and obviously you don't use the alpha much. But it's going to be close games. It's going to be difficult games. But a very, very effective deck. But it really is. Every single turn you have to play the right cards. It's not like with control decks. Often, if you don't play the right cards every single turn, you can still sort of get away with it, as long as you don't play too much and get a shitload of stuff, killed by an area effect. But yeah, like I say, really good deck though. Really, really nice if you can get some good value out of Frothing Berserker. You want to really make the Berserker the focus of your opponent's play, and you don't want it to go down easily. You want them to be doing all sorts of things, wasting all sorts of cards, trying to get rid of that Berserker, because it is really the most powerful minion that you have. Obviously not 4/4, but it's going to be a 4/4 pretty soon. You want to be getting this up to about 6 or 7/4, and getting a face shot in with it. And yeah, when you think about it, and there are, and you of course do have to think about lethal damage. You could considerably play Reaper. You could do an upgrade, get it to 6, then you get a 14 damage with 2 heroic strikes as well. Or you could do the Reaper, and then you could do Reaper with 2 heroic strikes. That would be 5 plus the 8 would be the 13 and 15. So you can do various different configurations of that. Execute really. Just need that for taunt. Execute and Iron Beaker. I don't know. You sometimes might want to get rid of it if you're trying to play the end bit, but it's hard to play trading minions with a. But yeah, if there's something ridiculous, you have to get through a ridiculous taunt, and you might want to play that. But anyway, great deck. The second aggro deck is the Warlock deck. Have a look at that. So yeah, this is a really, really good deck, and it's actually got one of the mechanics. Because often you hear about all the different mechanics. Joust is like not the most. You don't often hear about the Joust mechanic, even though it is actually a mechanic, but it is. But the Warlock mechanic of discarding cards is actually is obviously a much older mechanic, but it's only really recently that it's become really prevalent. Tell you what I do like to do, and just cite a recent game. Is if you play Rathgel against another Warlock, it's very likely that you're going to win very fast. I think I won in like turn 3, turn 4. You can win incredibly fast with that. And it's very important early game. Dark Peddler is such a good card, but it is an interesting thing that you have to really think what sort of value. One thing I won't do, don't do this. Don't play 2 Flame Imps against a Hunter on turn 1 and then get an Explosive Trap. I've played this deck quite a lot actually, and it's a really fun deck. Really, it's a great deck, this, to be honest. You can get. Okay, what I would say, beginning, I always discard the Fist of Jaraxxus, because you're not going to. The thing is, you don't want to be in a situation where you've only got Doomguard. It's like anything. You don't want to be in a situation where you've only got Doomguard and Soulfire. But saying that, very, very rarely happens. But yeah, you have to be Knife Juggler will obviously combo best with Imp Gang Boss. Curse of Reform. Now, depending on the class you play, is going to be interesting way. You see, if you were playing, say, a very an aggro deck, play that early on, you're very likely to get at least 4 to 6 damage from it. It's almost guaranteed you'll get 4, because your opponent will be playing a similar aggro deck where every mana counts, and they're not going to want to just waste it on just getting rid of this. This is very, very effective, because it gets their health down much faster. Obviously, I suppose, but yeah, it works. It doesn't get buffed by anything though. Not that there's any spell damage, but it doesn't. I was hoping it would, if you've got a spell damage minion, or even yeah, I'm not sure if it would work if a Jungle Moonkin was on the board. That'd be interesting. But yeah, I mean, you realise the power of Voidwalker as well. You see, if someone puts down a 2/1, you can't just put down a Flame Imp. It doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, I'm sure this stuff is obvious, but I'm just explaining. You can't do that. So you do want to put down you do want to put the Void Walker down. In most situations, the Void Walker is kind of the best card. But if there's nothing on the board on turn 2, even without the coin, it's often worth just thinking, should I just put the Wrathguard down? Because it can work out very nicely, the Wrathguard. If you can get a couple of hits with that, sometimes you can double Wrathguard, it works amazingly well. But yeah, you want to be in a situation where you're pinging off the minions, and ideally, for instance, if you've got Fist of Jaraxxus and a Soulfire, you of course want to make sure you've got nothing left in your hand apart from that, so it actually works. But what you would do most likely is you would Soulfire the face, and then in essence, it kind of it alleviates the. You want to probably hit the minion most of the time. They've got, say, a 3/4 out there, and that's all they've got. And you could say, well, don't you just Soulfire the minion and then hit the face? That's guaranteed. Yeah, I suppose you probably would do that then. But I don't know. It depends. It does depend. Sometimes you do have to play a little bit percentage-wise on it. But you can get some very good trades. Fist of Jaraxxus, you'll know if you're playing it right if you're getting really good Fist of Jaraxxus. You see, obviously stuff like this is you can't play it. You have to clear their board, and that's where it's a bit difficult to clear their board. But it will be helped with the good early game stuff. Haunted Creeper, of course, is very good to clear a board. You know, for instance, you might, if you're playing Paladin, want to get this out and then play the Knife Juggler combo, or the Imp Gang boss, of course. Imp Gang boss is, of course, going to live a bit longer, so probably think about getting that. If you play Dark Peddler, you see sometimes if you've got loads of if you've got, say, I'm trying to think of the situation, how to explain it best. Sometimes what you might want to do, you see, is if you play this, say you've got a 1 and a 2 cost, and you've got the coin or something, you might want to play the 2, because then when you get the 1, then the next turn you can play the 1/1. If that's, yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, what I mean is on turn 1, if you've got the coin, you might want to go straight into this, so then you'll get the second 1 cost minion, and then you can put that with the 1 cost minion you've already got, and you'll have a nice little combo. But it's lots of 1/1/1s, playing 1 and a 2, and yeah, but obviously it's just a great deck. Curse of Farm is very, very useful to play it at the right time. Play it, you know, some classes against an aggro class, you play this. You'll play this early on to completely disrupt their tempo at the beginning. Against a control class, you'll play it in area of effect point. So when the area of effect is coming, and you know they're going to want to use it, then you play that to keep on doing the damage, keep that damage incoming. And yeah, it's obviously got things like power overwhelming. That can be you know, the thing is, right, is if you look at the Doom Guard and you think what you've got with it, you've got the mana curve is so low that you'll probably be able to ditch your hand before putting the Doom Guard out. You don't want to be losing too many cards with Doom Guard unless you're in a very close to lethal situation. Then it's okay, of course, to do that. But you don't really want to be doing that. And obviously, yeah. But you do want to play that power overwhelming first. So you do have to think, especially at turn 5 or 6, you may want to hold on rather than risk losing the power overwhelming, because that is an extra 4 damage without any discard. So yeah, and sometimes you will have to consider to risk losing a Doom Guard, but you want to make sure that your chances there are like over. Realistically, you want to try to make sure your chances are always over 50% in everything you do, and then if you play like that, then get pretty good results. But you can theoretically play a little lower than that and still get good results, but you just won't be as consistent. Okay, so finally we talk about control deck, and that is the Priest. So let's talk about the Priest. So yeah, this is this obviously makes use of one of the most important thing I would say about the priest deck is that for me what I find is that what you want to do almost every time, what I feel is the best thing to do is to use the Shrinkmeister always with the Shadow Priest, because you want those 4 attack minions. There's so many times you'll get a Piloted Treader out of that. If you can get a Piloted Treader out of that, or even a Yeti of some kind, and then of course if you can double it, you recall you can actually get a 6 attack. It doesn't happen very often, but if you get into that frame of mind where you're actually saving it, you can get. And obviously things like Malagos and Ysera are the ideal targets. But again, you do have to put that with Entomb as well, because Entomb you're going to want really good minions from that. And this is why it's controlled, because you're basically doing nothing but just controlling the game with Death Lord early on, buffing that up with Power Word Shield, and possibly. Yeah, and you see there's interesting combinations you could actually do as well. So, for instance, you can do. See, Shrinkmeister is such an interesting card because you can do so many things with it. It's the only thing with this negative attack damage. So you could put it into Shadow Madness, for instance, and then put and assuming there's something on the other side which is going to have 3 or less health. And I mean, for instance, what I mean is like if you took a Pilot Treader, for instance, then you could get a Death Rattle. In general, Shadow Madness works best when you can actually get the Death Rattle, which is a positive Death Rattle. So the Pilot Treader would be a great one to do the Shadow Madness on, and then can get that Death Rattle. Similar sort of story with the Horned Creeper. If you can, there's all sorts of interesting things you can do there. Zombie Chow is obviously really what you want to play. What I've found actually when I played this deck quite a lot, buffing up the Zombie Chow is not actually a bad idea. There's a feeling with Zombie Chow it's like I just want it to die because obviously its Death Rattle is so negative. But at the same time, if you can buff it up and it doesn't die for turns and turns, and you can get a lot of damage in, you can get a lot of value out of it basically. And that's without even saying about the card draw. And remember, of course, the general kind of priest idea is that you have multiple minions with low attack and high health. Really, that's really what you're thinking of. And that's just a good way to look at it. Obviously, we've got also Elise Starseeker. This is it can be good if you but you don't want to play it too early, because otherwise you really could be. The thing is, playing legendaries is not something. This is literally it, because of also the likelihood of getting it, because you have to go through. You get the map and then you get the monkey itself. The likelihood of getting it, because first you have to draw this, then you have to draw the map, then you have to draw the monkey, right? So that actually is. It's actually not so bad, because you're not going to want to play it that early on. You're not going to want a deck of legendaries early on anyway, because a lot of the decks you're playing, unless you're playing another control deck, which maybe it would work, but realistically you just want it when there's like say 5 or 6 cards in the deck. And if you maybe, I mean it's a difficult thing to say with this. I can't say I found it particularly useful though. It's not too bad though, and it's always fun to get the gold monkey thing. Museum Creator is obviously a great card. It just works very, very well. And again, you may want to you can buff some of these weaker cards, because you do have that. I mean, Death Lord normally is what you buff, but you do have to be careful with the buffs if they get if anything happens to them negatively. And of course, the big Entomb, really you just want to take. The thing is, if you don't, you do have to also consider though that if the deck you're playing has not got any big minions, then you can't just. Realistically, you normally get a good shot of taking Dr. Boom with it. I mean, that's the sort of thing you would want to take Dr. Boom with. There's only one Shadow Word Death, but you're going to want to Entomb Dr. Boom if possible. And then of course there's Justicar as well to get the extra healing. So if you do get, because you probably will need it late in the game, and then of course it comes to a point where if you can just start healing enough, then it's going to be game over. And that I think will do for this video. So thanks for watching.